You know, I've been kind of looking at my phone as I come to, I guess, the realization that I'm recording this last episode. Not only just kind of reflecting and everything about this being the last one, but also given the fact that I put it on myself that I was not going to re-record or stop, that this is going to be a one-shot deal when I record this. I'm not going to get to some part and decide to start over. I know it in the past couple of years, I had a rule that if I didn't like how it sounded in the first 10 minutes, I would just start over, which saved me a lot of trouble from what I used to do, because I used to go through almost a whole show, like 30, 40, 50 minutes. And if I didn't like something in between, I would just start all over, which would make doing one episode take hours. But anyway, I guess that's one bit of insight to bring up as far as doing this podcast over the years. But yeah, I'm only doing this one time, and mainly because, if you don't know, I think I probably mentioned it in previous episodes, that this is going to be a 3-hour episode. So I'm going to use every minute I have on this platform for Spreaker that I've had before, but using the whole 3 hours, I just never done it. But we're going to do it now because this is episode 200, and this is the final episode. So why not get it all out? Like I've posted on social media in the past couple of days, we're going to replay a couple of interviews. Obviously, this being Trent Chat, we're going to talk about something current. It's going to be sprinkled throughout these 3 hours. But we also have a new interview. I said recent interview with Lawrence Jones from Fox News that we did at CPAC a couple months ago. So we're going to play that as well. So I guess this being the last time I say it, but this is Trent Chat, and this is one time where I probably would have just started over, because I didn't really have how I was going to introduce in this. But anyway, welcome to Trent Chat.
From the highways of America, here's the podcast where we talk politics, a little entertainment, some culture, and this and that, from the road to your ears. This is Trent Chat with your host, Brian Bledsoe.
And welcome to Trent Chat. I'm host Brian Bledsoe. And if you want to connect with us, whether on Instagram or Twitter, it's at Brian L. Bledsoe. And on Facebook at Trent Chat with Brian Bledsoe. And if you want to email, it is trentchat247@gmail.com, which will come in handy at some time. I'm not going to say when, but that email will come in handy sooner or later in this episode, and I'll let you know when. So again, it's trentchat247@gmail.com. So here we are, 199 episodes, and here we are at the last one. And I guess I should just start with why this is the last episode, because I've been asked that a couple of times. And I'm showing the post on social media saying, episode 200 finale. and I was thinking it was going to be, the title was just going to be the final episode, but now I'm like, I like finale, I guess I'll go with that. So, I guess, quite frankly, the reason why we're stopping here at 200, just quite simply, just say the numbers just don't justify continuing, honestly. The engagement for the podcast has been, I said, stagnant, and not just saying over the past year, because that's being 2020 and all that, but even before that, 2019 even. So with that, it just seems like it's 200 was a nice round number too. So I'll get into it later on sometime, as far as what do I guess perceive as far as why things didn't grow to the point of where at least to the point of where maybe we could continue on, or at least justify continuing, because honestly at this point it's kind of, I feel personally that to continue doing this podcast would be more about my ego than actually, doing something to help, I guess. Because that was my whole reason for doing the podcast in the first place. It wasn't something where I want to do a podcast. It's like, I've mentioned this in numerous interviews where people ask me about how did I started doing this, is that I wasn't thinking about it. It was that it was a suggestion that I should maybe should consider doing a podcast. It's, like I said, I've never thought about doing it because at that time I didn't know what you needed to even do one, because I was thinking you needed a big fancy studio and all of that, and so I didn't know anything about Spreaker and basically doing everything on the app. Or pretty much, I use a good microphone, but you don't have to. You can do everything on your phone. Use the phone mic if you want to. So, but I didn't know any of that. But once I figured that out, then I was like, well, why not? Because I'm already thinking all this stuff. I might well just put it out there. So anyway, because I've mentioned about how whether it's downloads or engagement in general, just not really there really, and so to me, I feel like if I just continue doing it, it'd be out of pride more than anything, and not the pride that we're talking about in that this month is every corporation is wanting to talk about that pride. No, just the old, just prideful ego. So yeah. So that's why, like I said, I'll get into it later as far as maybe some, I guess, some reasons that I could see that maybe I didn't do to help as far as the podcast growing or whatever like that. I did have some things to where I try to be self-aware, put it that way. So I guess I'm just normally if you don't know, a lot of times when I'm doing a podcast, it's not like I have a script or anything like that. But given the fact that I'm doing a 3-hour podcast, I didn't write a script out, but I do have a lot of notes. A lot of it is maybe topics or something I wanted to mention that I just didn't, maybe I ran out of time for. Not so much ran out of time, but I knew I was like over an hour, and if I got into that, it would have went on for another 30 minutes or something like that. But so stuff like that I kind of put into this file on my tablet called Final Episode. I was like, okay, if I didn't mention it then, I'm going to mention it now, because it's going to be on the last episode, and I'm just going to lay it all out there. Now, all that being said, I said all of that, and that this is going to be 3 hours, and watch when I get close to 175 minutes, and I'm going to see that I have one thing left. Hopefully I have planned it out enough in my head, at least, or at least on this tablet, that doesn't happen, but it wouldn't shock me if that happens, which you'll know, because we'll get at the end, if you're still listening by that time, or have fast forwarded to that time, and all of a sudden I'm like rushing through everything. And like, I have to do another 201 to finish it out, which would be ridiculous that you went on for three hours and still couldn't get everything out. Anyway, so to try to be efficient, let's not go on and on about that, but in talking about some of the more recent news, now this may be something that you didn't hear much of, mainly because it had to do with the Supreme Court, but there were, I guess you could say, 3 rulings that came out of SCOTUS, Supreme Court of the United States, that was in particular to the effect of illegal immigration. And you had one ruling where it ruled against the Ninth Circuit. The Ninth Circuit ruled that gave asylum to previously denied illegal aliens. And then you had another one where where Supreme Court ruled against illegal aliens seeking, to permanently stay in the United States, and then also ruling against criminal illegal aliens seeking to avoid deportation. Now, out of those 3 that I just mentioned, for one, I applaud that they ruled in that favor. But the stunning part to me is that all of those rulings are 9-0. Like, it was unanimous. And which was surprising to me, especially in the case of illegal immigration. So I really don't have any explanation for that, but I'm glad to see it. And like I said, it's really hard to explain, because I was thinking, okay, it's probably going to be 5-4 or something. But no, it was 9-0, which means the liberal justices also agreed. Now, maybe they agreed for different reasons, but nevertheless, they agreed. But wow, that was something to see. To see it go down that way, as far as whether you had, like I said, a 9-0 ruling on some of these, and all that being said, but still, what's going on at the border right now, with you having thousands upon thousands of illegal immigrants coming across the border, mainly because they got the signal from the current administration that Biden and Harris basically are leaving a door open for a lot of people. It's not like when you had with President Trump, that they even though they were still trying, but there were policies in place that were, as far as one policy where you had to basically, if you got caught at the border and then you had a hearing or whatever like that, all that had to be done at your, back home. You couldn't just stay here. But now the Biden administration got rid of that. So, and a number of other policies that would try to curtail some of this illegal, immigrant crossing the border. So, to see Supreme Court going this route as far as making these rulings. Hopefully we can get some handle on all of this craziness at the border, and where people are just steadily coming into this country illegally, and be able to do something about it. But as long as we have President Biden and Vice President Harris right now, that is not going to change anytime soon. Even if they even talk like they're like, kind of like sound like Trump almost, even if they even say that, but I still, even with what they say, but you got to see the policies that they're enacting. That is what counts. They can say whatever they want, but look at the policies. I mean, that's where it really counts. So, and I guess a theme being the fact that this being the final episode, it's not, obviously not the first time I've sat here and talked about illegal immigration. I mean, I guess looking back at it, there were like maybe 3 to 4. I said 3, maybe 4. I didn't really talk about taxes that much, but there were at least 3, if you just go back and listen, that was a real focus for me and this podcast. And one being illegal immigration, another one, which I would say is the main, my priority of all of them, is the abolishment of abortion and just pro-life issues, and the Second Amendment, and just wanting to preserve our right to self-defense. Now, like I said, I didn't really talk about taxes that much, but even with that, with those 4, that's kind of, with those 4 issues, that is basically how I moved from being an apathetic Democrat, put it that way, because even though at the time when I did vote Democrat, I had no clue as far as their policies, didn't know anything about it, just did it because someone told me to. But once I actually had any thought about any of these issues, so whether it was illegal immigration, the life issue, and Second Amendment, and taxes, those 4 in particular, I was seeing there was a very stark difference between the two, whether being Republican or Democrat. And so, because I was seeing Democrats being all for illegal immigrants and just going out of their way to try to basically bring more illegal aliens into the country. And when it comes to abortion, where they were basically cheering and what they call reproductive rights, but at the same time, just the slaughter of children in the womb, where they would just have no regard towards that and just be pushing for quote unquote women's rights, even though we're not talking about that in particular when you're talking about another human being being slaughtered. And so, and looking at that issue, and then also looking at how Democrats are just so gung-ho for gun control, and then also on taxes, where basically you was showing how Democrats were just looking at who, if you are successful, if you have money, they just think it's their job just to take it from you. That you should, if you're successful, then there's something wrong with that. Then, or you should quote unquote pay your fair share. And then in seeing that, so in hearing that part, that sounds, that sounds right. But then when you look at how much that they consider a fair share is, and then then no one else supposed to bear any responsibility. Like, only the wealthy supposed to pay all the taxes and pay everything, and no one else. Like the rest of us don't need to have any stake in anything when it comes to as far as taxes go. So like anything, whether it's a fair tax or a flat tax, I mean, obviously, the whole taxation is stuff in it as well. But Democrats didn't care for any of that. Like, they're all about this quote unquote progressive taxation rate. And anyway, those four just really were the basis. And then as time progressed, and then other issues as well. But as I mentioned before, it's like in 2007, when in becoming a Christian and actually wanting to vote according to my biblical principles, and going down that route and doing research and seeing whether it was illegal immigration, abortion and self-defense and all of that, and unfairly, targeting people of wealth just because, just to go back on the taxes thing, just because they got it, they should just take it from them, which is not right. I don't care how much money someone makes. If they made that money legally, it's not your right just to take it from them just because they got it. Now, if they want to be charitable and give it away, that's up to them. But it's not the government's job just to consider themselves a charity through taxes. So, and that's something I mentioned before. It's something I think I mentioned in I would say my favorite episode is Voting Your Theology, and where I talked to Pastor Gerard, and about that in particular, where a lot of people think of taxes as charity, which is not the case, because if you're taking it by force, that's not charity. Now, if you're giving it of your own free will, then yeah. So, but I think one book I mentioned, I think I probably mentioned in that episode, but I mentioned it now, is a book by Wayne Grudem called Politics According to the Bible, which is a fantastic reference book, because it's not really like a novel and nothing like that, or it's more of a reference book. It's because you can just basically look at the table of contents and pick a subject and just go to that chapter and just read from there. It's not like you can, you have to read from beginning to end. You could just pick and choose what issue you want to read upon, and then read that section. But yeah, I guess I mentioned again, it's on Politics According to the Bible by Wayne Grudem. And so yeah, check that out if anyone, especially any Christian, is looking at as far as when it comes to politics and just trying to correlate those your politics with biblical principles. So now, given that I knew I was going to do a 3-hour episode, obviously I can't just sit here and just yap, because I'm definitely going to need to drink some water. But on top of that, I also know that even looking at it now, here we are, we're almost at 25 minutes. So yeah, let's get to our first break. And that's another thing that we definitely going to make sure we're going to play everything we got, and that I've ever had, at least, because obviously I have the time, so why not? So yeah, so we're going to do that, and then also play a couple of actually going to play two new songs that we haven't played before from Savannah and Topher. So these have came out ever since the last episode. So we're gonna play those as well, at least a snippet of it, at least. So after a word from Politichicks is something I haven't played in a while. And trying to think how we're gonna do this, because see, now this is at the point. Well, we're over 10 minutes, so I wouldn't have went back, but yeah. So this is gonna be that raw episode where everything is just kind of, I'm just basically telling you how I'm putting this all together. So anyway, let's hear a word from Politichicks, and we'll be right back. Hello, this is Brian Bledsoe, host of Trend Chat, also contributor at Politichicks.com. Here to tell you about the new book called Politichicks, A Clarion Call to Political Activism, with over 300 pages from contributors like myself, talking about topics such as education, social issues, healthcare, the Second Amendment, and of course, activism. I encourage you all to check it out at Politichicks.com, and is also available at Amazon and Barnes & Noble.
Politics and other stuff, maybe. This is Trend Chat with your host, Brian Bledsoe.
Yeah. That time, y'all. I got something I want to say.
Look. King James, decorate the office of the one he blames. Protected the black woman for feeling these pains of having a throat slit, demanding these claims of accountability. Are you kidding me? Black lives matter what he showed quite literally. On the court, I don't doubt your ability, but when it come to truth, man, you lack the affinity to rationalize with all the facts. Emotions got you zooming all us blacks, so petrified with 5-0 on our backs, like we criminals born don't know how to act. Please, we don't need your tears. Gaslight things just to please your peers. White privilege and extremist fears, but that all goes away when you hear them cheers. As you travel the world making millions just to put a ball in.
All right, so that's King James by Topher. So I guess playing that first because given the fact that Lakers were eliminated in the first round of the NBA playoffs. I know a lot of you probably have no clue because you're not even watching the NBA. I was barely watching myself. I just saw it on TV, and then the memes afterwards, as far as because for one, it was somewhat historic because LeBron James have never lost in the first round of the playoffs, which, I mean, that's impressive. I mean, I know all the jokes out right now about it, but that's impressive. In the times that he never had suffered a first round loss until now, and what was like 18 years or something, like 18 tries or whatever. So, but yeah, I remember this one meme in particular where you basically had a police officer trying to tell LeBron about what he should have done to not get eliminated, which makes the joke as the fact that because LeBron basically tried to tell police how to do their job. And tit for tat. I mean, well, if someone has no clue about what law enforcement goes through and having all these opinions about what they should do, that gets fitting. They should tell LeBron how he should shoot the ball. so yeah, but so yeah, that's one of the few songs we have that we can play, I guess, and which I am grateful for people like Topher and Savannah and also West Cook Band, which they were the first that gave Trent Chat permission to play their song on our podcast, which we'll play that later, which it's actually been a while. I think I haven't played it since 4th of July last year. And it's the Stand for the Flag song that they made, which went viral a couple of years ago. And so yeah, So yeah, in the course of these next hour and a half, not 2 hours and a half that we'll be on, we'll get to playing those songs and like I said, we're gonna play everything we have. I haven't played that ad from Politichicks in a while. I mean, mainly because it says it's a new book and it's been a couple of years now. So, but still, the fact that I have an article in that book, it's out there. So check it out. Now, another thing that has come out recently is all these emails that were released. And I will say released a lot of times, it's been said like, these emails have been leaked, but they were released because you had media outlets that actually were asking for these emails from Dr. Fauci. And so they got what they asked for. And a lot has come out from reading those emails. And I would just say this: how much Fauci has contradicted himself from the emails, whether it's talking about immunity or mask or hydroxychloroquine and all that. Obviously, the first thing that not only him but also the media is going to use when looking at these emails, they're going to say, well, his opinion changed because the data changed. So if you read an email from February 2020 and then you see it contradict something he said later on, you're like, well, that's because more data has been included, and so that changed his opinion, all that, just giving him all the benefit of the doubt. And that's the thing that in particular that really is standing out, is that the media is bending over backwards to give him the benefit of the doubt by giving him every excuse for if there's a contradiction that, well, it meant this, it meant that, like, and it's the benefit of the doubt that they never afforded to Trump or any Republican, any conservative. Like, if there's a story about a conservative saying anything that contradicts them from saying something later on, like, we don't get that benefit of the doubt. Nope. Nope, we're just a liar. That's how they portray us. Or even, like I say, even if it was Trump, like they would not give him any leeway that they are giving Fauci and basically any Democrat in media. And so, regardless of whatever that is in the emails, it's going to be reported that, well, they're going to give them all the excuses in the world to try to basically protect their golden boy, basically. I mean, he does have a book that is, I guess it's still coming out, even though it has been pulled by some websites. So, I mean, it seems like it's hurting him somewhat. I have no sympathy for the man. I don't care. But in particular about one aspect about hydroxychloroquine. One thing about that is the fact that in reading those emails and talking about the effectiveness of if it works a lot or if it works a little or whatever like that, and how he went back and forth about how that drug works against COVID and all of that. But one thing when looking at that particular part of it, is that why wouldn't they give the same reasoning for using hydroxychloroquine that they do for masks? I mean, even if the effectiveness of hydroxychloroquine, if it's even minor, it's still worth trying it, because that's the reasoning for putting on a mask. Like, whether they think it has a great effect or even a minor effect, either way, they still say, well, even if it's a minor effect, you should do it because any little bit helps. But they didn't use that same reasoning when it comes to hydroxychloroquine. Like, they just said, nope, don't try it at all. We don't care how, if it's minor or not. No, just totally disregard that. And it's not like it would have been expensive, because hydroxychloroquine is pretty cheap. So why not even try it? That they wouldn't even give that benefit of the doubt for hydroxychloroquine. Like, just try it. If it, if it doesn't work, then go with other methods or whatever like that. But they wouldn't even concede that point. And mainly becomes down, back to, last year, because Trump mentioned it. That's basically what it kind of comes down to. Because if President Trump would have never even mentioned the name of the drug, they would have probably at least would have said, give it a shot. Just try it at least. But because he mentioned it, and because he basically endorsed it as far as, as a treatment for COVID, media just totally dismissed it like it's just some fantasy drug. like it just, nope. Don't even try it. It won't do absolutely nothing. There's no effectiveness to it. Like, they're just totally disregarded. But, they just didn't want to give Trump any chance to be right. But you also see this in those emails of Dr. Fauci, as far as, at least there were some effect that it could work. It wasn't saying it was 100%, and no one is saying it's 100%, but it is worth a try at the very least. But anyway, matter of fact, I think I probably talked about all the current events I'm probably going to talk about for the next couple of hours. I don't know. Some might come across my head in a minute, but I was going to mention that later on, but it just kind of came out. But I know in one interview we had last year, and talking to a doctor with Remote Health Solutions, and just went in talking about COVID and all of that. I know I definitely have something I want to mention about that, but before, let's get to one of these replays that I want to play right quick. And actually, I'll start off with one somber one, and talking about pro-life and all the bills that go through DC and all other state, legislatures and everything, and all trying to work towards abolishing abortion in the end. Now, obviously, people have different methods when it comes to that. You have what you call incrementalism, which is basically mostly what most places, whether in DC or any state, is normally going in that route. Whatever pro-life organizations, or that mostly are using that method. And then you have the other method, which is basically just absolute, like just absolute, abolishment from the start. Like, just like there's no baby steps in that sense. I forget the name of the term, but basically just taking it all the way, full stop. Which I would support if it could happen. If you could actually get the people, get the votes, whether from the people or from the representatives, I have no problem with both. I would prefer it would just be a full stop, just abolishment of abortion without having to go through these, baby steps, because every day babies are dying. So I would definitely like it to be that way. But that being the case, that's not how a lot of these the people in general are not, or definitely are not really open for that. And so it just basically kind of comes down to being just incremental process. And I mean, that cuts both ways, because it goes the other way as well for, whether you're talking about Democrats and the other issues as well, because that's what they're doing with guns in that sense. That they're trying to incrementally take away bits and pieces of the Second Amendment, as opposed to doing a flat out just total, ban of the Second Amendment. And they know that's not going to happen, because, that's not going to work either. So they're doing it incrementally. Take little pieces here. You can only have this many rounds in this magazine, or this barrel can only be this long, or that, or maybe you don't need to have that particular gun, or this, and so just little bits and pieces. So anyway, all that to be said, like I said, the first replay interview we'll play is from Representative Ron Wright, who sadly passed earlier this year. I was able to speak with him twice for the podcast, at least. I spoke with him a number of times off the record, I guess. But I spoke with him twice, and this is the second interview. This is when he was in D.C. and we were there. I was with Heritage Action to advocate for this pro-life bill, the Born Alive bill, which we talk about in this interview. But he was my representative in Arlington. So, and as of this recording, we still don't have. We're right now going towards a runoff for to replace Representative Wright, and actually the leading candidate is his wife, Susan Wright. And I have met her a couple of times as well, and I've actually, I voted for her, and I endorsed her as well. And so that runoff is like July 27th. Like I said, as of this recording, we're still in the process of electing who's going to take his seat. So anyway, this was about 2 years ago. And so, yeah, here's an interview with Representative Wright.
Hello, this is Trent Chat, and we are here in Washington, D.C., and we are very pleased to have Representative Ron Wright with us. Now, the last time we spoke was during the midterms, but now we can officially say Representative Ron Wright. So how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
So, first off, the reason why we're even here is to get signatures for the discharge petition on the Born Alive Abortion Survivors Act. And not only we know that you were a co-sponsor of the act, and we also have found out that you have signed on to the petition. So first off, we are very grateful for that. But for the people that don't know, tell them about the act and why you signed on.
Well, Brian, it's an outrage that we're even having to discuss it, that we're even having to do a discharge petition, because this is about babies that survive abortions. They're outside the womb, but they're alive. They're fully alive. And this bill would require that medical professionals provide them with the same care they would any baby that's born that's outside the womb. There shouldn't be any distinction, because we're not really talking about abortion here. We're talking about infanticide, because this is a live human being outside the womb that's going to die unless it gets some kind of attention from medical professionals, like any infant would. And so we're not asking a lot, but it is frustrating and infuriating that we're even having to talk about this, much less have to fight for it. But this is an indication of where we are up here in Washington, where we are with the Democrat majority. They're going to extremes, and the people of the United States, people of Texas in particular, need to know just how radical the Democrat Party in Washington has become.
You know, we've gone to different Democrat offices already, and one thing I've even mentioned is that this is kind of like the minimum to ask, really, because like you said, we're not talking about abortion. We're just talking about providing medical care to a baby that's already born. Right. That's all we're asking, really. And I can't believe that I'm even having to come up here to advocate for this. This should be 435, signatures on here, or it should have already been to a vote.
Well, that it's an indication of how radical they have become, and particularly on the issue of life. It's very difficult for a pro-life Democrat to even get elected these days. But again, this is different. This is in a category by itself, because we're talking about killing a baby that is already born by refusing to give it medical attention. And it is just an outrage that we're even having to discuss it. But it's an indication of the times we're in. But we're going to continue to fight this. It is unconscionable, the fact that more Democrats have not signed this petition, because what this petition does is it forces a vote on the floor, because so far the Democratic leadership will not allow the bill to come to the floor for a vote. This will force it to come to the floor for a vote. And I believe that, or at least I'm hopeful that enough Democrats would join us in voting for the bill if we can get it to the floor. And that would ensure that babies that survive abortions and are alive outside the womb would get the care they need.
Now, we also would know you're part of other committees, so as far as our foreign affairs and education and labor. So I guess let us know what's going on in those committees.
Well, the Education and Labor Committee, that's a real meat and potatoes committee in the Congress, because that committee affects almost every family in America one way or the other, either from an educational standpoint or a workforce standpoint. And most of the work that's been done on the committee so far, we're still early in the Congress, but most of the work so far has been on the workforce side of things, on the labor side of things. We've had hearings on pensions. We've had hearings on pay equity, hearings on the minimum wage, things like that. We've only had a couple of hearings on education-related issues. On foreign affairs, that's been an extremely interesting committee because of all of the hot spots in the world that can affect, the people here in the United States. Whether it's Syria, Venezuela, Russia, China, all of that. And those issues come before our committee. So that's been very interesting. And the thing about both of these committees is they're committees that have a history of working in a bipartisan fashion. Particularly in foreign affairs, partisanship should end at the water's edge. And I believe you'll see some bipartisan work come out of that committee. That's also true of education and labor, but so far it's been very partisan. It's like they're going down a list, checking boxes to satisfy their base. But I'm hopeful that even on that committee we'll produce some bipartisan work before the Congress is over.
So just want to say we are very proud that you're here, and we definitely was very supportive in your campaign, and just keep up the great work.
I will, and thank you again for your support. We're working hard, and we're going to keep working hard for the people of the 6th District of Texas.
Trend Chat is proud to be a part of the hashtag Life Tribe or Culture of Life as they seek to celebrate life through the world of fashion. Go to COL1972.com and get 10% off your purchase when you enter the code Trend Chat. All right, man. Yeah, so that was interview with Representative Wright, and hopefully, well, even though we'll be done with this podcast, but hopefully we'll see Representative Wright once again with Susan Wright in the next month or two, which I'm hoping to be able to, I guess, be an election judge that day. And I don't know if I even mentioned about, I probably have, but I was an election judge for the November election, and also for the it was a recent election, and we've had so many. I tell people I really feel sorry for those block walkers, especially in our area in Texas, where it almost feels like there's an election every 2 weeks at this point. I mean, we just had an election June 5th, where I guess you could say the main race in that one was for Fort Worth mayor. I mean, there was a lot of races whether it's for city council and stuff like that, but the one, I guess, marquee race was for Fort Worth mayor, which I can say I'm glad to see that Maddie Parker won that race, because Fort Worth, if not one of, maybe the only major city that is not run by a progressive socialist Democrat communist. And either it's, I think Tulsa is or was, but like I said, it's very far and few in between to find a city, a major city. I don't care where it is, no matter, I don't care how red the state is. But I've mentioned this a number of times. The major cities are run by Democrats, and even if they consider themselves to be nonpartisan, you can see how they govern and basically fall in line one way or another. And Fort Worth was on the verge because you had Maddie Parker, who was more conservative Republican type. Because again, this is they don't have R&D beside their name, but you just have to look at their principles and basically kind of have an idea. Now, it was a stark contrast in this case, because you had Maddie Parker, who was the conservative Republican type, against the former chair of the Democrat Party. So she was the chair of the Democrat Party. So that basically tells you where she falls. But it was somewhat close. But in the end, Maddie Parker won, and that's great. And so hopefully she, continues on and does great, and Fort Worth will not fall to being run by another socialist, basically. So, but that being said, one thing that was, just talking about, I guess, Tarrant County in this case, even though you had that victory there were a lot of losses when it comes down to city council. And that's something I've mentioned before on this podcast, is that, these city councils obviously have a lot of power as far as policy goes. And there were a number of, I guess you said, conservatives that was running, or at least somewhat conservatives, at least running in for these spots, and a lot of them lost. And so, even though you had the headline of what happened in Fort Worth as far as the mayor's race, but then you look right below that, lost a lot of city council spots. So kind of dropped the ball on that, which is even in the case of Fort Worth in particular, because I remember seeing, okay, Maddie Parker won the mayor's race, but yet one of the city councilmen that was running as well, that was running as kind of a Republican, lost. And so now also given, let me just say this, the turnout was just horrendous, which is not surprising, but it was a very low turnout. But it's not surprising because it is just a mayor's race. But yeah, I forgot what it was, but it was very low. Which, when you look back, I mean, even the general election is only, if not half, probably less than half, actually vote. So if that's for the presidential, just imagine how less people care when it comes to city council and mayors, even though mayors and city councils are the people that going to affect them a whole lot more than the president. I mean, yeah, the president obviously is going to affect you, but the city council and mayors are going to direct you even more directly. Yet people care less about that than who the president is. So, because I mean, mayor and city council and all them, those are the ones that are going to be the ones that going to vote for those tax increases or whatever like that. And so, yeah, but yeah, that wasn't even something I was thinking about talking about. I don't even know how I even got on that. How do I even, anyway, but yeah, so yeah. Oh yeah, because I was talking about the elections in general, talking about, hoping that Susan Wright wins, and also that okay, now I get it. Now I remember. But and also given the fact that we had so many elections, and the one that I just talked about with the mayor and the council, city council, that was June 5th. So now this runoff between for Representative Wright's seat, that is July 27th. So, and then after that, I don't know, there's probably going to be another municipal election of some sort. I don't know. But yeah, if you're someone that's block walking in Tarrant County in particular, I'm pretty sure people are probably sick of seeing you to give them information about an election every couple of weeks. So, but again, it kind of is what it is right now. I think we could probably do better as far as maybe consolidating some of these to a particular day. So, but yeah, I actually was. Oh yeah. So, as I mentioned before in the beginning, that in my notes for this particular episode, I've had a number of things that I put down that I maybe didn't talk about before, and said I was going to mention it in this episode. Now, of all the things I've gone back in this on my tablet and read that I was going to mention in the last episode, this one in particular, I still don't know why I put it on here. I don't know what I was thinking about in particular, but I'm going to stay true to what I put in here. I'm just going to maybe I'll figure it out as I read this. But for some reason, I'm just gonna read it right quick. I wrote this sooner. I don't know. Sometime. I don't know when. Sometime last year or this year. I don't know. So I put down, what if one day there will be technology that would read your dreams and could actually see it when you wake up and create a show on your dream. You know, it'll be very intrusive, but I suspect there will be plenty of people who wouldn't mind having some tech company in their brain, you know, to see that to some extent. Yeah, I don't know why, where that came from. But I wrote it down here. I typed it out on the tablet, and yeah. So I really don't have much else to say about what I've already, what I said, because I don't know where I was going with that when I typed that out. Whenever I should have put dates beside some of this stuff, because I don't even know when I typed that out. But then again, I guess the thought of it, because I wouldn't be surprised that people wouldn't, if you came to them with that proposition saying, hey, you ever wanted to relive your dreams, but you kept forgetting, you forget them as soon as you wake up? Well, take this new technology from Amazon or whatever, like, or Google, that will read your dreams and will play it on the TV when you wake up or something like that. Yeah, but yeah, I could see that happening, I guess. I don't know, maybe I want to just put this in there because I plan on downloading all of this and putting it on a hard drive and putting it in a safe. I don't know, as some sort of time capsule of some sort. Someone, and that absolutely may happen. And they were like, man, he was talking about that in 2021. And here we are in 21, and it happening. So I don't know. I don't even know if that hard drive even lasts that long. But anyway, yeah, I mean, that's what I plan on doing after I finish this episode. I'm going to download it all, put it on a hard drive, and then just leave it in a safe. Mainly for like, just, I guess legacy in the case, in this sense, or whatever. Just like, when I die, you can just listen it all to this, or whatnot. So I had some more so for my daughter to listen to one day, I guess. I don't know. So yeah, of all the things I have put down on this tablet, that is the one thing I do not have a clue as far as where I was going to go with that. But anyway, we've gotten past the first hour now, and so we're going to take another break because we're also going to get to our next replay. And actually I'm going to wait for that, because I want to do this all, I guess, reflection as far as things that maybe I should have done differently. I want to do that all in one segment, and I want to wait for that. And but yeah, so we're going to hear a word from the Founding Project, and we'll be right back.
This is Trend Chat.
Hello, Trend Chat listeners. If you like the Founding Project's Civics Education video series, Civics for All Ages, and our educational meme series, we think you will love our new website. Join us at thefoundingproject.com and be a part of the civics movement. The Founding Project is a 501c3 education nonprofit. Please join us today.
Hey everybody, it is Chad Prather, host of the Chad Prather Show. You are listening to Trend Chat with my man, Brian Bledsoe. Come on with it.
Trend Chat with Brian Bledsoe.
All right, so hour 1 is out of the way. It's actually going by faster than I thought. Because here we are, we got 2 more hours, but yeah, so. But let's get to another replay from someone, I guess, kind of sticking in the vein of and talking about, you know, abortion, and someone we've interviewed a couple of times, and you know, we really love their work with Choice 42. They have a new video out right now that just dropped last week, which or 2 weeks ago, but it's just awesome. You should check it out. So go to choice42.com, and here's one of our interviews with Laura Klassen. Hello, this is Trend Chat, and we are very pleased to have a returning guest with us. I would say she is the main reason, the only reason, that Trend Chat is being listened to in Canada. So, and I definitely wanted to bring her back, so you know, we can boost those Canada numbers up as well as everywhere else, but especially Canada. So we're talking with Laura Klassen. She is the director of Choice 42, and we're just going to talk about a couple of things and what's new with Choice 42, and especially with the new video that was released. So, hey, how you doing?
Hi, I'm good, thanks.
So, I guess let's start off with the new video that was recently released. When I saw a picture of it, I saw a puppy in your hand. I'm like, okay, where's this going? So, what is it about?
Yeah, so that one's about puppy abortion, which is an actual thing. And as it turns out, people are very upset when they find out that puppy abortion happens, but they're not upset that human abortion is happening. So that's why we made that video.
And when you released it, did it, as far as, I guess, you know, with Facebook and all the other platforms, you get a lot of, I guess, haywire kind of messing with your views and all that. Was this the same?
Yeah, well, Twitter took it down almost immediately. I think, like, within the first 20 minutes, it was gone. And then, same as Facebook, people were saying they couldn't watch it, it wasn't playing. So I think our mistake might have been that we announced when we were going to do it. And so we probably won't be doing that again. But yeah, that was really annoying.
Oh, okay. So so you would just have to, I guess, upload it again and...
No. I just complain about it, because if you complain about something publicly on social media, that's the only way it gets fixed. If you go through all the proper channels of reporting it and all this, they just ignore it. So I just pretty quickly made a stink about it, and it came back.
Okay, well, that's what you have to do nowadays, because it seems like that they try to take every chance they can to try to basically create new ways to try to either just be annoying. If they can't just outright take you off, just ignore you to death.
Yeah, it's really annoying, and there's no way that it just so happens that we have an issue every single time we upload a new video. No way. Other people, like makeup companies and stuff that my friends are running, none of them ever have any of these issues. So yeah, it's pretty irritating.
Yeah. Now, one thing I've noticed in the past couple of months was, I guess, something that we here in the States didn't really have to consider so much is like the movie I'm playing. So that was released in the States, and it got some news because of the subject and all that. But as far as being able to see it, it wasn't difficult to go to the theater and see it. But that wasn't the case in Canada, right?
Right. Yeah. It was a huge process to bring it to Canada. because they couldn't find a distributor and they couldn't, Cineplex said no. And we had a petition going and just a ton of stuff was going on. It took a couple months, and then finally they got it into, I believe it was 40-something theaters across Canada, and it only played for 1 week, and that was it. But so Canadians got to see it, at least. Some Canadians got to see it, but man, like even some of the theaters that agreed to show it, they received threats against their employees and their employees' families if they were going to show unplanned. So, like, one of the theaters in British Columbia decided, this is too serious. We can't risk this for our employees, so they decided not to show it. And that happened in a couple other theaters around the country as well.
Yeah, like I said, that's something that we in the States didn't have to, at least we didn't have to worry about the movie not being released, or even if it's going to be released, having people threaten as opposed to getting it put in theaters. But yeah,
right.
In Canada, that's another reason why we want to bring you on, for people that are listening and maybe don't realize things are different in Canada. I know we talked about it before, in the first time you was on, but again, for the people that maybe didn't hear the first time you was on, which if they haven't, shame on you. But if you haven't, if you haven't, when it comes to the issue of abortion in particular, it's a different deal in Canada, right?
Yeah, it really is. Very different atmosphere. We have no abortion law, I guess, which is the largest problem. So, it's just crazy what's going on up here.
Because you don't have any abortion law in Canada, and also when someone, like yourself and Choice 42 are out here trying to advocate for life, it can be, and also up in Canada, when it comes to just speech in general, it's different too.
Right.
So
yeah. Yeah, that's the crazy. Like, we don't have free speech protected the way that you guys do. So, if someone interprets what you're saying to be hate speech, you can get charged with hate speech crime. So that's the tricky thing about Canada.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, even just doing the videos that you're doing now, it seems like it has to watch out as far as language goes. Yeah,
we try and be careful. Like, we're not attempting to get in trouble by breaking any hate speech laws, whatever those might be, but at the same time, trying to get our message out that abortion is human killing, and that is something that offends people. Yeah. So they might interpret that as hate speech. Like, it's just wild.
When you're talking about, if you're talking about this particular issue and about abortion, I'm guessing, have you been informed by, Canadian government about, okay, you can't say certain words, do things a certain way because they'll be interpreted as hate speech? How is it? Well, I guess, anything is really possible when you're talk about what can be interpreted as hate speech. But I'm just wondering, have you been personally told that, okay, this is considered hate speech, even though it clearly is not?
No, they haven't clarified, to my knowledge, what that would look like in terms of abortion.
Okay.
So, but then again, it's kind of whatever offends people.
Yeah.
And then whatever they take issue with, that's what they can interpret as hate speech.
Well, hopefully none of that happens, and just everything just keeps moving on, as well as possible. What's new with Choice for Two? Given that you already mentioned that you're not going to release, you're not going to, tell us when another video is coming out because of what has happened. But I guess
right.
Tell us what you can about what's new.
Well, we've already filmed 2 more in the Just Saying series. So those will be coming out, and we're about to film another one, which is different. It's a new idea. I'm really excited about that one, and that should be out this fall. So videos coming along, and just we've really upped our presence online in terms of reaching women who are facing unplanned pregnancy, which has become way more important now that the bubble zone laws are in. I don't know if you know about those up here in Canada.
No. What is it?
So I think it was about last year, they put in a law that you are not allowed to basically sidewalk counsel outside of abortion clinics. You're not allowed to do anything that could be interpreted as pro-life outside of an abortion clinic. And within, I believe it's 150 feet from the clinic. Yeah, and that actually includes you are not even allowed to wear a pro-life T-shirt and walk past the clinic. So, yes, we know that because we tested that. And, yeah, so since we can't do that, and that is such an effective way of reaching women, right, like right in their last moments, we were really doing most of it online anyway. So we've really upped that, and we really are connecting with so many women, and like the stories are just wild. I'm talking just today with a woman here in Canada who wants to get an abortion, and she's now 30 weeks pregnant, and it's just heartbreaking talking to her because she keeps calling her baby it, and you know, like that's what we're dealing with, and she's allowed to do that up here.
Yeah, well, one thing I've noticed too from on your social media pages, you share stories of positive stories of people that you have reached out to and have, or
right.
Yes, I mean, I guess tell us a little bit about those stories.
Yeah, so the cool thing really with our online initiative is that most women, like probably in the 90th percentile, they choose to keep their babies after we connect with them. And these are women who initially were considering abortion. So it's just amazing to see how, like the support, it means so much to these women. And, it's not just the, like the conversation and the encouragement. Like we actually do help women. So one of the things that we do is online baby registries, which we've set up. Women tell us, what they might need for themselves or their babies. And, it can even be things not baby related, like maybe they need gas money or they need something like that. And so we make these registries, we set it up, and then we put them out to the public. And pro-lifers from across the world really purchase these items, and they're delivered directly to the mom's house. So it's just a really effective way of practically helping these women, and it's been working really well.
Okay. I was seeing that on your pages, and I definitely, especially for anyone who was listening, and maybe they will catch some of that and maybe want to help out as well. And I mean, is there like something on Choice 42 that would, if they want to help out, that would direct them for that?
It's more on our social media.
Okay.
On the Choice for Two Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram pages. That's where we post them. And people are so generous. Like, our registries get bought up usually within an hour or two. And we're talking, like, some of these registries have, like, 50 to 100 items. Mm-hmm. And they're just bought by people who don't even know these women, just people who want to help out. So it's really encouraging to know, pro-lifers are actually putting their money where their mouth is and wanting to help these women.
Well, we're basically kind of at the end. So if people want to find all of those social media pages and, want to connect with you, where would they go on social media and everywhere?
Just Choice for Two, anywhere. Search for Choice for Two. And we have links to everything on our website, which is Choice42, like choice42.com.
All right. Well, Laura, I appreciate you coming on, and we look forward to having you back on again soon.
Thanks for having me again.
What's going on, y'all? This is Brandon Tatum. Make sure you go to Trend Chat, check it out, listen to it. One of the best shows that I've ever been on. So make sure you go check it out, man. God bless y'all.
So you want to keep America great, but you don't know where to go to get some Trump-centered gear? Check out TrumpMug.com. And if you put in the code TRENDCHAT, you get 10% off. So at TrumpMug.com, they have flags, coins, mugs, of course. So go to TrumpMug.com, put in the code TRENDCHAT, get 10% off. Again, TrumpMug.com with the code TRENDCHAT for 10% off. All right, so yeah, definitely check out Chores for Two, and yeah, they had a really great video, as I mentioned recently, and yeah, really should check it out. They really are doing a fantastic job, and showing people, whether it's especially the fact they're up in Canada, and just really doing a great job as far as trying to show abortion for the horror that it really is. So one of these, which I will play again, just it's this sound that I have here, and I think it's appropriate for what I'm about to say. And I was going to play it just now, but I forgot. So, and I think this is the appropriate time. So, one of the little sounds that we have is obviously with Hillary Kennedy. She is the voice that you hear in the beginning that introduces Trend Chat. But she also did these other little sound bites that I asked her to do, which I am definitely grateful for. I tell her that every time I see her. But she did this other one that I haven't played as much, but I think it's time to play it now. It would have went smoothly with what I just what I just played now, but anyway, I think it's still appropriate because I'm about to start. This sounds right, so here we go. So this is another one that she recorded for us. So here it is. Boy, hold up. All right. Yeah.
Commentary as subtle as a sledgehammer. This is Trend Chat.
Now, I don't know how many times I played that before, but anyway, I think it's appropriate for what this next segment, I guess, because Black Superman is lazy storytelling. As of this recording, there have been reports as far as having, that Warner Brothers is going to have a Black Superman, and maybe it could be Michael B. Jordan or someone else or something like that. And I just mentioned that in particular because we already seen it now with the Disney Plus show, which Falcon and Winter Soldier, which, spoiler alert, let me just say this now, even though it's been out, but spoiler alert. So give me about, I don't know, but just letting you know, all I would just say is that at the end, it basically is Captain America and the Winter Soldier, because Falcon assumes the mantle of Captain America, so he will be Captain America going forward. So now you have a Black Captain America. All right. And just going along with hearing the news about Black Superman and all that, it just, again, like I said, it's just lazy. Because instead of creating new characters or using original Black characters that are in the comics, as opposed to using traditionally white characters and just making them black or white, mainly just using the name, because people see Superman, they're like, oh, well, if we just make them black, then we don't have to worry about creating a new character. We could just use the profile of and the legacy of something like Superman or Captain America. Then we just slap a black man on it, and then like, oh, okay, look how progressive we are, and whatever. And like I said, you have original black characters like Falcon, actually, because Falcon is an original black character, but now they just switched him to be a Captain America, which he was perfectly fine as Falcon in the comics. But they wanted to put that mantle of Captain America in particular, and it's always like getting sloppy seconds in the sense, as opposed to just creating new characters. And I say it's lazy because if you create a new character, then you got to build that legacy up. As opposed to just grabbing something that's convenient and just, putting a black person on that one. And I mean, on top of that, I know personally, it's kind of, I don't really relate to as much, especially for those in particular, those characters that were traditionally white and then they changed them to be black or Latino or whatever, gay or whatever like that. Like, it's kind of hard to relate in the sense of, because it's not really about the story is all about whatever that person is, whether they are black, Hispanic, or Asian, or gay, or trans, or whatever like that. The focus is all on that. The story is all centered around that. And it's one thing I mentioned when Falcon and Winter Soldier was on. It was like everything was about it because he's black. in almost every episode, it was always something about, this happened because he's black. It was just, the focus was all about being black. and the rest of the story was secondary, really. Or at least on the same level, but it definitely made sure they kept pointing that out. And with all these stories, they just keep pointing that same drumbeat. And yeah, it just, like, they're not really telling a story. They just using whatever minority status that they have, and they just basically go off of that. And everything is always difficult for, and use million different reasons why, and like everything bad is always happening to them. Like nothing. It's nerve wracking. It just gets on my nerves, and like I said before, it's just lazy storytelling. And as opposed to actually putting together a story about a hero and doing whatever, but no, we're just gonna talk about how this person is this minority, and America is always keeping them down because the man and all that, and just keeps. And I think we're gonna see a bit of that in the next phases of Marvel, which you can kind of see it. And yeah, I mean, I think the whole, as far as Marvel goes, from Endgame to all the way back to Iron Man, it's probably gonna be about the best phase that they've had, because I think it was more focused on stories than anything, any social activism. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was in some of those films too, here and there, but I think there's just going to be more of a focus on it as we go along. Whether you had it in Captain Marvel, where everything was about her being a woman, like everything, everybody's keeping her down because she's a woman, and talking about her emotions and all of that. So it was already going that way with Captain Marvel, but I think we're just really shifting on, like, we're really going to be focusing on that in the movies and series going forward, because we definitely saw that in Falcon and Winter Soldier too, and definitely, and also because at the end, because with Falcon and Winter Soldier ending, they also announced that they're going to make a Captain America 4 with Black Captain America now with Anthony Mackie playing, the role of Captain America. And so it's, and I can pretty much guess the fact that he has officially taken the title of Captain America, the movie is going to be focused on, and I can almost guarantee that there's going to be people he's going to have some resentment. People are going to just not accept him, and I'm pretty sure they're probably going to have red hats on, and they're going to have a southern accent, and they're just going to be this. They're going to be clearly portrayed as conservative people that are going to be totally totally racist towards like, not even just disagreeing like I am, disagreeing with the fact they're just lazy storytelling. No, they're going to be portrayed as the most vile racist towards Black Captain America. So I can almost guarantee that's going to happen in the movie, if it's not going to happen in season 2 of the series. So, but in saying that, and just I guess in keeping up with, I guess, about the Black community in particular, that's one thing that I didn't even really have to really make an effort to not do it, because I don't think about it like that, is that just trying to put everything in the context of being Black, right? Because I just try to look at it from a universal perspective for how it affects everybody, and regardless of whatever it is. But that's one thing that is I've been hearing for a long time, especially amongst us as conservatives, that especially in talking about outreach amongst in the Black community, or even in the Hispanic community, just in minorities or people of color, whatever like that, is that you will hear a lot, and I'm pretty sure you still hear it now, talking about, the Black community is actually conservative. They just don't vote that way. They have conservative principles, and like I said, are actually more conservative than even they probably realize. And to an extent, I mean, yeah, you can actually, you can ask like individual questions about particular policies, and then once you go down a list, you'll see that 9 times out of 10, they'll probably answer the questions more on a conservative scale. It's only when you finally reveal that is more Republican than Democrat, that's when they totally just disregard the question that they just answered. But I've come, now this is just, this just me, but I'm somewhat disagreeing with that notion that we talk about the Black community being more conservative than they realize. I mean, because to me it just seems more of a conditional conservatism, actually, where people talk about where they want limited government taxes and low taxes, etc., only as a criticism because they proceed to not be in power. But once in power, then they're all for big government. Once they know that they're in power, whether it's like Obama or even with Kamala Harris, all of a sudden all that talk about limited government all of a sudden kind of goes out the window. And now, because you're in that seat of power as a community now, at least you think you are, now you're just as power hungry and authoritative and tyrannical as the people they complain about and criticize about, and wanting to limit. Like it wasn't about limited government as a principle. It just wanted to limit the other people's power. Like, as it's like black community be like, well, we just want to limit white people's power. It's not the fact that you think that government in general should be limited. No, we just don't want them to be to have it. But once we are in power, then we want to have all that power too. So it's not really a principle thought. Like I said, it's more conditional. I mean, couple that with, animosity of race and perceived injustice nowadays and feeling of entitlement and retribution, against those, who were in power before. I mean, it's a justification for using that power in the same corrupted way as payback for the past. I mean, it's not about who has the control. I mean, being conservative is about no one having that much power and control in our lives. I mean, but I think it's all wishful thinking, at least for the foreseeable future, because so many want that on both sides. I mean, I think they all just want to be, little dictators, actually. So, and I mean, that's just how I feel now, because you see the switch a lot of times, and it's not just talking about the black community. It's also just I'm mentioning that because I feel like a lot of times we think that, because someone agrees with us on certain issues, is that maybe that's because there's another part in play, the reason why they will think that, as opposed to a principled reason. Not so much principle, just that we just want to reduce their power until we have it. So, I mean, I guess in just staying along with this is that there were, growing up, there was like unknown events for me in particular, leading to become to being a conservative. So, and just thinking about like the irrational defense of everything black, right? Like, whether it's like defending vile music, calling women all sorts of names and talking about pimping and drugs and all of that, and murder, kill and all. And look, I was listening, to that as well. I mean, but I could understand the criticism even back then when I was listening to it. I understood the criticism, but I mean, I know a lot of people say this, but I know, like, I was listening for the beats. I didn't agree with so much of what I was hearing, because like I said, I wasn't smoking weed or none of that. So I was like, all that stuff, I was hearing it, but it's kind of like, man, but this is a nice beat though. Like, this beat is tight. But because I wasn't popping caps or nothing like that. I mean, but it had a sick beat. But now I just, I mean, even, I know something I wrote for Politichicks was how the O.J. Simpson trial made me conservative, and because I remember the reaction to that trial back in the day, and that was like a spark. Like, I didn't become conservative that day, but that was like the spark of it, was that day, because I just couldn't wrap my head around the fact that someone who was at least questionable, like, I was in high school, so it wasn't like I was watching the whole case and everything, but it was at least plausible he was guilty. Like, it was questionable at the very least. I mean, you can go so far as say, yeah, okay, yeah, you know, he did it, but it was at least questionable that he did it. And but yet when he was acquitted, it was like everyone. I was in school. My school was like 95% black, and so when that verdict came out, it was like a parade went off. It was it was like New Year's Eve. Everybody was just celebrating. Yeah, like I didn't find nothing to celebrate because I'm like, okay, I mean, maybe he did or didn't, and just because the jury said not guilty, it's just like, oh, it's obvious he just didn't do it. Like, there just was no question about anything, and just, you know, just celebrating the fact. I mean, kids were, you know, we were getting checked out of school and all of that. I mean, I didn't, but a lot of them did, and parents were coming by school honking their horns. It literally was like a parade was going on, and yeah. So, but yeah, like that was the spark, because I just couldn't get, because even though at that time I already was kind of like, when it comes to music, like a lot of this music is filthy, and like I said again, I was still listening to it, but I still could understand why a lot of people didn't. Like, I could understand when I was seeing the stories about music, and I wasn't defending it. Like, the only thing I was saying is that I like the beat. But there was a lot of people that were just offended. Well, you don't get it because, you know, this is our culture and stuff like that. That wasn't my culture as far as, you know, popping pills and pimping out women and all that. So, but like I said, that was like the spark of it. But I think I guess you said the last straw, I guess, that kind of just where the light came on was that Duke lacrosse case. And just the fact that you had people like Al Sharpton and I think Jesse Jackson, all them out there that during that case where they were just taking the word of a stripper and I guess you just say exotic dancer or sex worker, they will call it now. Like, they will just take her word as gospel. Like, she said it, it happened. Like, you could say it's kind of like was the beginning of like Believe All Women, where they just believed her flat out. They didn't question anything. They just went for it. She said it, they all guilty, and just ruined their reputations. And when it all kind of folded like that, just like, okay, I'm done with whoever they're with, and Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson, whoever they are, like, and like I was done with them. So that was like, okay, I already wasn't agreeing with a lot of stuff they were saying anyway, but that right there just kind of like, okay, I'm you know what, I don't want to have anything to do with them. And but yeah, that was kind of like the beginning of it all. And like the O.J. Simpson trial was the spark, and then like and the Duke lacrosse case was just like the gasoline later on. Like, I know there's a lot of time in between that, so there's a lot that. So I was questioning it. The questions started then, but it didn't really go anywhere because, again, you know, I was in high school during the O.J. Simpson trial, and then from that point in between all the way to the Duke lacrosse case, so it's not like there were no conservatives in between there that would have, even if I would have talked about this, would have put two and two together or something like that. And so all that time in between was basically just being in limbo, I guess you could say, and questioning but not wondering what there were no options presented, to put it that way, because like I said, everyone around me were all just voting one way, even though they may have the same questions or maybe are thinking the same way, but still, as far as having a conservative mind perspective, I mean, it's not like it definitely grew up at home in a conservative perspective, whether it was said or not. Because whether you're talking about personal responsibility and, you know, taxes as far as, and, you know, having guns in the home and stuff like that, we definitely were more conservative than the ones than liberal. So, but again, it still was the sense of that it didn't really click, because there were, like I mentioned before, when I realized that I would be voting Republican for the first time back in 2008, it wasn't. When I tell that to people, some people like, oh, you know, it wasn't like where I came from a position of like, oh, I can't stand Republicans, I can't believe I'm going to vote for one. No, they weren't even an option, and I'm saying that like they weren't even a thought. So I mean, I guess you can chalk it up to them not really putting forth the effort in trying to reach out, which I probably mentioned this before. It's something I can understand why Republican Party or GOP are hesitant to invest a lot into outreach. I mean, I understand it, but from an investment point of view, and I think that's how a lot of people look at it. Because I don't know if I probably mentioned this on this podcast before. Maybe I have, but just look at it from from an investment point. So if you come up to someone and say, all right, I'm wanting to invest a good size of money. I don't know, whatever that is. I don't know whatever that good size amount is, to invest in outreach. The likelihood of success is low, and the return on investment is low. Now, it could be high, but the risk is very high. And also, it is a very volatile situation. It can crumble in a second. You can have someone in our party say the wrong thing, and a very small thing in the grand scheme of things, but it doesn't take much to just have us set back for years. And so it's a very delicate, volatile situation that we want you to invest a lot of money in. So if I'm sitting back and I'm an investor and I'm a donor to the party, and like, yeah, I don't know if I want to, donate for that or to that in particular, because it's a high risk. Probably it may work, it may not work. And so, yeah. Do I think it's worth it? If I was making that proposal, I'd be like, yes, it's worth it, because, we definitely need to be going down this route. But understand, it is, now this won't be a good sales pitch, but, donate the money, but don't expect to get anything back out of it. If you do, great, but don't go into it with the expectation that, oh, this is going to come back tenfold. No, it may at the very least come back just even. So yeah, that is basically how it, that's the realistic, view of it. As far as if you're approaching someone, like I said, I'm looking at this strictly like an objective, investment, which is, like I said, I think a lot of people would look at it that way, especially the donors that are shelling out thousands of dollars to whatever is a conservative organization, or to the Republican Party in general. I mean, Democrats don't really have to worry about it, because they're there, and they don't really have to put forth the effort, because they got them. So they just put like the minimum amount of effort at this point. So yeah. that's I guess that was all my opinions as far as like this is all stuff that again that I've put in here that I said I was going to mention, but then I just don't. And anyway, let's get to another like I've had a number of these. Like I saved the last hour for talking about just about this podcast and putting this all together, and so I'm going to use a lot of time on that. And also let's get to another replay interview with someone that I think she's been on more than anyone on this podcast. I really appreciated her giving her time to come on. I mean, we've played their promos on here a number of times, and definitely just want to just play one of our interviews with her. And so here's this is not our first interview. I think this was I don't know which one this is actually, but here's one of our interviews with Laci Williams. Hello, this is Trend Chat, and we are very pleased to have a returning guest. Actually, this is the first time meeting face to face, but she has been on numerous times, and actually, I think she's been on the most of anyone. Who I'm talking about? I am talking about Laci Williams. She is the founder, editor-in-chief of Expressions Magazine. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Brian. How are you?
So, we've had you on a number of times, and mainly we talk about Expressions. And so, first, let everyone know what's the latest issue.
All right, so our latest issue is going to be issue 4. Marissa Wright is on the cover. She's the CEO of Prager University. We just kind of sat down and talked with her about kind of the course of her life and how she helped start the 5-minute videos for Prager University. A lot of people know Dennis Prager, and they know him as the radio talk show host, especially some of the older generation knows, or people that are very involved in the conservative movement, but they really don't know how Prager University came about. So we kind of tell that story and really get involved in that. We also have kind of talked about, what it's like being a girl boss, and she doesn't really like the terminology because why would you say, man boss? You can just say boss. It's all about being a boss and, organizing your time. She's a mother, so she knows how that is, and I think she's a really inspiring and relatable person.
So, given that with the 4th issue, that basically means that, given that it's a quarterly issue, that means it's been a year. So, I guess let us know what's been the ups and downs of the past, the first year of Expressions.
A lot of the ups, obviously, like Nikki Haley being in contact with us. My favorite thing is doing interviews with cover stars. There's a lot of humility within this whole movement. They're real people that believe in real things, and it's been a lot of fun doing a lot of the interviews for that. A lot of the downs, things like sponsorship. It's hard. You know how it is getting money for, a lot of magazines make their money in ad revenue. We reached out to all the big ad agencies and things like that early. And, Maybelline, I'm looking at Makeup for America over here, and they're kind of the rival, and they're, American-made makeup company that stands for conservative values, and I love them. But then you have people like Maybelline, on the other hand. We email them, and we're donating all of our money to humanitarian causes, which is upsetting when the next day I see a giant billboard for Maybelline. They have, I think it's this new foundation. It's either Maybelline or CoverGirl, one of the two. Don't quote me on it, but they have this foundation. It's new, and it's for all different skin colors. And of course, they're like, we're representative of all. I didn't see a blonde girl there. I was not represented. Excuse me. So it should not be about what you look like on the outside, but that's all makeup caters to. And it's sad that they can't even appreciate diversity of thought anymore than magazines. So.
Yeah, I know. With the prior 4 issues and having everyone on. I mean, I know we spoke with Antonio Okafor. We've had her on a number of times, and Kendall Jones, Marissa Wright, and numerous people. And with the latest issue, so I guess also go a little bit more as far as what's in the issue, as far as what other articles you have in there.
So it's our summer issue. So we really tried to focus on, things that girls are doing over the summer. So traveling is a huge one for girls, especially right out of college, or people that are, coming out of college forever, I guess. High school girls, every woman can kind of relate to, what are you packing in your suitcase? What does that look like if, you don't have a lot of cash to check a bag? How are you going to maximize your suitcase and carry it on? That was really fun. We did a traveling story on Israel. One of our contributors, Mallory Finch, did that. She kind of talks about how she connected to Christianity right before she came. Again, there's just so many fun articles. There's not a ton of fashion in this issue. We did kind of focus more on the lifestyle stuff because oftentimes, we are political lifestyle. We do focus on that. And our next issue will be more focus on politics. But we just kind of focus on, just fun stuff. French beauty and what that looks like for girls and, minimalistic makeup and just so many different fun things. Fleck is actually our man of the moment for this issue, and he was so fun to interview. Every answer is, yeah, very cool, very cool. And that's like his catchphrase, so I had a good time with that.
Now, for someone like myself that's been following you on social media, whether Snapchat or across, also saw that you were interning at I forgot who now, actually, but I know you was interning at the Capitol, state capitol. So tell us a little bit about that.
So I interned for Rod Bockenfeld for House District 56. Rod is amazing. Freshman legislator, comes in, he just has a passion for it. You can tell he hasn't been taken over by any ideology. He just wants to do what's right for America and for Colorado, and I think that's so important. He's so humble, and I don't know, he's been kind of just like he sees the potential in people, and I think he's seen the potential in me, so we've become really good friends. But I do know for a fact now, I want to wait until I'm older to, run for political office. I think that takes a little bit of time. You kind of got to work in activism, maybe become a lawyer, build your resume, because you can't just walk in like AOC 29, bartender. I'm sorry, but the respect is not going to be there. And I have friends that work in Washington, and they say, Nancy doesn't respect AOC, and that's part of the reason why. She hasn't built up her resume, she hasn't been there, and she really doesn't know what she's talking about, and I don't want to be like that girl.
Now, with your time before doing the internship, did it, make you want to go further as far as political career, or as far as, or maybe did it change, or how did it influence you?
I learned a lot. For sure. I learned how, bills are passed, the cycle that they go through. I think that was really needed. I learned a lot, and I needed to do it in order to understand it better. I don't know if I would go back and do it. If I'm going to do anything and run for any office, it's going to be nationally for the federal government. I don't know what that's going to look like, though. I want to be older. I do know that. It's fun, but I love activism so much, and I love writing, and I love speaking, and that's just more fun for me. I've always enjoyed that more. I know I don't want to be a lawyer. Litigation seems fun for some people, but it's expensive to go to law school, and I don't have that kind of money lying around just to be like, I kind of sort of like it. So,
just wait. Expressions are gonna, going to blow up. You're gonna have that money then.
Oh yeah, exactly, right? It takes time. My mom, I was talking to her yesterday, and I was feeling a bit discouraged, because it seems like everybody's blown up real big, and it takes them like 2 seconds, and they have all these social media followers, and I'm like, and she goes, Laci, Rome wasn't built in the day, but it was known as like this great civilization that even people now are looking at for, a higher power or, inspiration. So that really helped. My mom's a big supporter, and I'm really lucky to have a strong woman in my life like that.
Yeah, so I guess, for one, we're happy to finally meet in person and to finally get a chance to have a face-to-face interview. So I appreciate everything you're doing, and if people want to know more about, expressions, obviously, if you've been listening to the podcast, they know, but tell them again.
All right, you can go to www.express-conservatism.com. That's our website, and there's links to all of our social on there. You can shop around for the latest issue, and you can also get an online version on there as well. So check it out.
All right, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much.
This is Laci Williams, the founder and president of Expressions Magazine, letting you know that you can order our quarterly magazine and support female conservatives by visiting express-conservatism.com, or you can follow us on social media. On Instagram with the username of expressions_conservemag, or on Twitter with the handle of @express_conserve. Get your copy today.
Hey, this is Benny Johnson. You're listening to Trend Chat with Brian Bledsoe, the best beard in the business.
Population, high level of success. Margaret Sanger, that's a devil in a dress. Trick the world, he ain't exist. That's what the devil did best. Got in your mother's womb, limbs ripped from your flesh. 350,000 babies, that's a mass murder. Planned Parenthood, 1 year and they last murder. Talking about 89 seconds ago. By the time the song over, it'll be too mo. 62 million slaves since Roe versus Wade. I ain't talking foreign, that's a whole USA. Over 1,600,000,000 since 1980.
Trend Chat is proud to be a part of the hashtag Life Tribe or Culture of Life as they seek to celebrate life through the world of fashion. Go to COL1972.com and get 10% off your purchase when you enter the code Trend Chat. All right, so we are at the last hour of this episode. Here we are. Oh, there we go. So yeah. Wow. So again, like I said, we've had Laci on a number of times, and so been great to having her on all these years. So and thanks for the support and from her and a number of people as well. We have a number of people, but a lot of times we always thank people for sharing and subscribing, but I want to mention one in particular, and her name is Jennifer Solis, and I don't know if I said your name right, but I hope I did, because there's a lot of people who subscribe and have downloaded and listened, but I would say she's probably the one who has shared the most and to my knowledge, let's put it that way. And I just want to thank her for supporting the show and listening. And I'm mentioning her in particular because she's the one I noticed the most, but I know there's a lot of people who are listening right now, and I do thank you as well. And just as we've been doing this for a couple of years, and here we are at the end. I know I'm going to say this again, but just thank you for listening and sharing and subscribing and putting up with listening to. In this case, it's a 3-hour podcast. Normally been going like an hour. I remember at first it was only 15 minutes because that's all the time I had. But then I did those interviews at CPAC, and then I had to expand it mainly so I can play those interviews. And so, but yeah, I just wanted to mention that. I want to make sure I mention that before we get to the end. Now, I want to mention something I put down a while ago, I guess, when these old COVID passports was all the rage. But I want to just mention this right quick. It's just that, these are COVID passports, right? I mean, I know right now it seems like it seems like it's not going that direction where we're going to have these COVID passports. There's a lot of pushback, and I'm glad to see that still. But even if you're trying to travel abroad, that is in a lot of these countries, they're implementing these COVID passports where you can't even come into their country unless you show proof of vaccination. But just talking about here, I mean, COVID passports, I feel like, are the beginning of a moment in history where people would just give away more and more of our freedom. And at this point, it's to a rapid pace just to feel quote unquote safe or quote unquote compassionate. And, what people just have, become absolutely dependent for everything from the government, whether it's what to eat, what to drink, basically, like a subservient population of people, controlled by the state. And, there it's going to come a time where I know I saw a sign where they said someone was it was, I don't know where it was, but it was saying like, if you wonder if you would have complied, I think it was in Germany back in the 30s, during the time of Hitler, let's put it that way. If you now if you would have complied with that back then, if you are so compliant with everything that's going on the past year when it comes to COVID. And yeah, I definitely agree with that because, a lot of times people don't really notice what's happening until it's already happened. And now you're like, how do we get here? You have people after we've gotten to the point that we're basically living in a tyrannical authoritative state led by Democrats. Just saying that. But I mean, it could be Republican, but the chances of that happening are a lot slimmer than the Democrat, because they're already, their policies are all about growing government and giving power to the government. So that's why I say that. But some people going, after all that has happened, then they'll probably be wondering like, oh, how do we get here? What happened to our country or stuff like that. And I mean, and then you just go back and look at all the little steps along the way where you just allow the government to just add more and more strings to your puppet, to the puppet strings, with sayings like, oh, it's for your safety, or so, like, oh, it's just a mask, or we're all in this together, all that. I mean, I've said this numerous times too. I mean, freedom is not safe nor easy, but it is worth it. But I can say that it seems like a lot of people, especially those supporters of hope and change, I mean, they just rather give it away. They just don't really value freedom. It's something that was the title of the podcast, being freedom undervalued. I mean, people just, they don't know what they got until it's gone, I guess, that old saying, and that's seems it's gonna rear its ugly head soon. So I mean, even in talking about COVID in particular and the mask, and especially especially the blue ones, right? I mean, I know everyone got all sorts of kinds of masks. I mean, I'm pretty sure the mask economy is booming right now, and I'm pretty sure those people don't want people taking masks off. But those blue ones in particular that people are so fond of, especially, I can imagine you're going to come across a commercial, let's say in about 4 or 5 years. I mean, you've seen these commercials before about other things, whether it's about cancer or whatever like that. But can you imagine seeing this commercial? Did you use the blue mask or the cheap little blue mask? Do you use those masks during the pandemic? You may be eligible for compensation. Because of fibers in the filters, and that especially the people that was wearing it day in and day out all day, and all those fibers have got into your lungs, and now you got lung cancer or something, complications with your lungs or something like that. I can see that in a commercial in a few years. So I mean, I don't know. It's not like, I mean, I wear a mask every now and then, and it's not because it's for me. For one, if you don't know, I have sleep apnea, so I sleep with a mask on. So I've been doing that for 10 years. So wearing a mask wasn't nearly as much of an issue. If I go to a business and they said to wear a mask, whatever, that's my choice to whether I want to go in there or not, really. And it doesn't bother me that much. Now, just because I said it, I am definitely for, for people that are fighting, all these mass mandates, especially from government, especially. So, don't confuse that. But yeah, I'm just saying personally, it doesn't matter to me one way or another. But I can understand if people that have complications that can't wear one, but for whatever reason, I sympathize with them, with them, and so yeah. But yeah, I can imagine seeing something like that. I mean, in just in COVID in general, over the past year, right? If this much fear can be generated for a virus that has a 99% survival rate, right? I mean, yeah, obviously if you have one of those conditions, the survival rate is lower. But for the general public, overall, it's a 99% survival rate. Can you imagine if something worse comes along that has, I don't know, a 70% survival rate? I mean, you've already shown as a people across the world that you are willing to just give up everything for something that barely could kill you. Think about something that could maybe 70% or 50%. So, and you definitely have indicated to governments across the world that you are very willing to comply with anything. You're willing to give up any right to feel safe, which is not surprising. It's not the first time, and it won't be the last, unfortunately. But how much are we going to give up here in this country in particular? I'm pessimistic towards it. I think we're just going to keep going down the rabbit hole, actually. So, anyway, let's hear a word from one organization that is definitely trying to do their part in trying to turn the tide, especially amongst millennials and young Americans. That'll be Young Americans Against Socialism.
Hey guys, this is Morgan Zegers, the founder and CEO of Young Americans Against Socialism. We are a nonprofit organization working to preserve a free, fair, and prosperous America for generations to come, all by equipping our generation with the truth about socialism. If you're interested in watching our educational videos, donating to the cause, joining the Ask Coalition, or becoming a contributor, you can do all of these things at fightsocialism.org. We hope you'll join us in this crucial fight for the future of our great country. Thanks!
What's going on, folks? This is Colin Noir, and you're listening to Trend Chat.
This is Trend Chat.
All right, we're coming on down the home stretch. This last 45 minutes. So, before we get into talking about all of, about putting this podcast together and other stuff, I guess I want to put this in there too about at the time of this recording. I know I've been saying that a couple of times, but if this, going to be the last episode, want to mention this in case it comes out around again. I mean, because this is going to be on, well, I don't know how long it's going to be on Spreaker, actually, after my subscription is done, after I'm done here. But either way, it's going to be out there somewhere. And so, as of this recording again, we have a number of candidates running for Texas governor. Obviously, I've mentioned before, Chad Prather, who has been on the show, has announced that he's running a while ago. Also, we have former state senator Don Huffines. That is, hold on, was it Don? Okay, Huffines. Let's just put it that way. Make sure I've got the right one, because there's two. But yeah, so he announced that he's running as well. very conservative senator while he was in the Texas Senate. And also Texas Republican Chair Allen West, Lieutenant Colonel Allen West, has resigned from, effective July 11th, but he is going to resign, and it is reported that he will also run for governor. And plus there are others that are already announced as well. And so the primary looks to be very crowded against Greg Abbott, and rightfully so, because of all the mask mandates he did last year, and just, hasn't been really as conservative as he portrays himself to be, put it that way. And like I said, deservedly so. And I really, at this point, I mean, for one, he's an incumbent, so it's going to be kind of difficult. It's always, incumbents are always difficult to unseat in a primary. Now, what I will hope is that with people like Chad Prather, Allen West, Huff Hines, and maybe who else may enter into this Republican primary, and that the primary will at least go to a runoff where Abbott would not get over 50%, and he would have to go to a runoff. Now, that's like the worst case scenario, actually, as far as the primary goes. Or just, he just get beat outright. But I don't think that's going to happen because, like I said, because you have so many running. But then we go to a runoff, and then he goes against whoever that one candidate is. Again, then everyone maybe hopefully would consolidate and get behind that one conservative candidate to go against Abbott. And then, okay, let's say whoever that candidate is, they beat Abbott. Whether it's Chad Huff Hines or West, and or someone else who is more conservative, they win, and go on to the general and beat whoever Democrats are going to put up. Maybe Beto, for all we know at this point. But let's say if he actually, wins the runoff, Abbott, if he, Governor Abbott wins the runoff, I would at least hope after that he would govern more conservative because of what happened in the primary, and understand and see that, what happened in the primary was basically just a testament to how we feel about how he's been governing as a Republican. So yeah, that's where we're at right now. I know because of the news with Allen West resigning effective in July. Now you have a couple. Well, I only know of one right now is former Texas state rep Matt Rinaldi is going to run for the chair of the Republican Party of Texas, which I think is a great idea. I really respect Matt Rinaldi, and I like I said, I don't know who else is going to run. I will suspect that Governor Abbott is going to have his sympathizer of choice to run against Rinaldi, because Rinaldi was not that complimentary towards Governor Abbott, especially with his mask mandates and all that. So I'm guessing Abbott is probably, as of right now, he probably already has someone or grooming someone right now to run against him to be more of an ally for Governor Abbott as the chair of the Republican Party of Texas. So all right, we're going into the last 30 minutes here, and I'm going to take another break because I think I'm probably going to go all the way to the end after this. And so, 40 minutes left, but and speaking about Texas in particular, before I go to another break, we're actually going to have a CPAC in Texas, I mean, there was already a CPAC in Orlando earlier this year, but apparently there's going to be another CPAC. I mean, of the same size of the one in Orlando, which I don't know what CPAC is doing, what the ACU is doing right with this other event. But you know, President Trump is going to speak. I mean, it's just the same level almost. I'm guessing it's going to be, but without all the restrictions that we had down in Florida, because even though, like I said, even though Florida being a red state and Ron DeSantis is great and all that, we were in the city of Orlando, and Orlando, like any other major city outside of a few, like Fort Worth and Tulsa maybe, or Fort Worth in particular, you had all these restrictions, and for, you know, social distancing, mask and all that, and that was causing a big issue, especially the mask down there. So, but now saying that, the CPAC in Texas is going to be in Dallas. You know, Dallas still have their, you know, just as much restrictions too, just because it's Texas. Again, Dallas run by Democrats. So, like I wish they would have done it in Fort Worth. But so I don't know how restrictive they are in Dallas County. I try to stay away from Dallas County as much as possible, to be honest with you. I'd stay in Tarrant County. You know how much I don't want to be in Dallas County? Let's put it this way. So I work for a company that's in Dallas County. I mean, it's deep in Dallas County too. Now, I work there. I'm you know, if you don't know by now, if you've been listening, and if you can't tell by the hum of the truck in the background, I'm a truck driver. So, and you know, all the episodes are done in the truck. So, well, most of them are done in the truck. Every now and then I did one in the car, actually, like sitting in the car with the microphone. So anyway, not gonna go off on that, but yeah. So the company I drive for, you know, my car is in Dallas County, so I had to park my car to get to my truck and get on the road. And so because of that, because it's in, you know, it's in Dallas County, most sensible people, to be honest, I mean, I know this doesn't make a lot of sense, it's just my choice, but sensible people will be like, okay, your car there, the company you drive for is in Dallas County, and your truck is there and all that. You know, you probably want to live near where you work, right? You live in Dallas County. I mean, you work in Dallas County, so you're probably going to, you know, probably live there or live close to there. No. No, I could have. But because I don't like how much I don't like Dallas County so much, I made the effort to make sure I live. Now, I do live in Tarrant County, but I live right at the line of it. and I did that on purpose. I live right at the line where Tarrant and Dallas County is. Mainly because I just, you know, I don't want to go too far away from work, but I didn't want to live in Dallas County. So I didn't want my address to be in Dallas County. So I made sure, like, everything is in Tarrant County. The only thing I have to go to Dallas County for is to go to work. And if I didn't have to do that, I wouldn't do that. So anyway, so I'm just saying that as far as CPAC goes, they may have still run into restrictions, even though they're in Texas, they still may run into restrictions just because it's Dallas County and the city of Dallas in particular. So yeah. So watch out for that. Like I said, I don't know what they've been told already. And honestly, whatever they've been told, don't be surprised. This is the same thing I said about when they were down in Orlando. Just because, you know, they may be told one thing, but anticipate shenanigans from the county commissioner, from the mayor, from city council, from the sheriff. So I'm all the way down the line in Dallas, in the city of Dallas, in Dallas County in particular. Expect shenanigans from all of them to try to sabotage this event one way or another, whether by implementing limits, capacity, anything. Just anticipate that. They did it before with another event last year in particular, and also down in Houston So it's been done, and yeah, anticipate that happening. Also, on top of that, I mean, you may get some help from Governor Abbott if some problems arise. You may, not to the level that I think you will get from like Governor Ron DeSantis in Florida. But yeah, so anyway, yeah. That'll be the last event actually that I cover, will be that. So now, one thing, as far as, you know, the events that I covered and everything, that's, you know, it's been great and all of that. And so one thing I wanted to mention, is that, that was I guess the reason for even going to these events, because I was already going to these events before doing this podcast. But I remember going to CPAC 2016, 2017. Anyway, it was when I was writing for Politichicks, and I was writing my first article for Politichicks, and I came across Michelle Malkin, and I asked her some advice about writing your first article and all of that. And so yeah, we talked a little bit, but one thing in particular she mentioned that stuck out is that, you know, if you cover these events, you can go to these things for free. And I remember that, I'm like, are you telling me all I got to do is write an article or do a podcast about it, and I can go to these events for free? I already was going anyway, and I was already going to even talk about it to someone anyway, or maybe write a little something on social media. So why not just do it? So yeah, so that kind of like, okay, yeah, why not do it? And just, you know, do a whole bunch of all these interviews. And, you know, it's fun. Even though if you get a lot of interviews, it can be, it can be a lot of work trying to edit and put it all together and put it for the podcast and all. But yeah, it's been fun. It's been great. And even though the podcast will be over, but who knows, if I'm covering it, I'll probably maybe write something for Politichicks for the CPAC in Dallas in July. So yeah. So here we are. We're coming up to the last 30 minutes. Let's hear I guess be the last one we'll play from the Founder Project, and then we'll be back and we'll talk about Trend Chat, the show, and how this even came to be and what's the future and going forward. So
hello, Trend Chat fans. The Founding Project invites you to experience our latest resource to take civics to citizens, TFP's new website. Visit us at www.thefoundingproject.com. Be a part of the civics movement with The Founding Project. The Founding Project is a 501c3 education nonprofit. Join us today.
This is Dana Lash, and you're listening to Trend Chat.
Welcome to Trend Chat. Welcome to the Trend Chat Lounge. This is your host, Brian Bledsoe. And we just want to help you to take your worries away with the sounds of Turtle Beach by Oakwood Station. Oh man, you know how long I've been wanting to do that, but I kept forgetting about it. But maybe I didn't want to do it because of, you know, the tone of the podcast or whatever. But I've been wanting to do that for like a year. So, but I got to do it now. If I don't do it now, I'll never do it. So anyway, so let's just start at the beginning, actually, and how all this came about. So, I guess the start of doing anything, whether it would have been a YouTube channel or a podcast or anything, it started when me and my then wife did a live stream on Periscope, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was Periscope. And we talked about, so I talked about politics and she talked about entertainment. We just, and we just kind of just did it. We just thought it'd be fun to do. And that was like 2014, I think. I forget when it was, maybe 20. Yeah. So, that was the beginning of it, because after we did that, we both thought like, hey, we ought to do that more often. And that kind of was the start of even considering doing anything like this. Fast forward a couple of years, because nothing really came of it. We didn't really didn't do another one like that. But then I was writing for Politichicks, and then becoming a national delegate in 2016, and that's where that's where it really went into fast forward. And like it picked up then. And because now, even still at this point, I was still looking at it to do, even though, like I said, at the time at the convention in 2016, that okay, it's starting to come together that I think I'm going to do a podcast. And this is where I go back, Julio Rivera, he put me on about Spreaker and doing this over the phone and all that. And so, okay, I think I can do this. So at that time, like I said, and then, my wife at the time, I was thinking, okay, let's do a podcast, on politics and entertainment. I'll talk about the politics, she'll talk about the entertainment. And so that was the beginning of it. It was, Trent Chat was always supposed to have been 2 hosts. That was the beginning of it. And that was the plan at the beginning. That didn't, obviously, if you heard the first episode, that didn't happen. But that didn't come out like I thought it would. So that's why a lot of especially what you hear in the beginning couple episodes, where I was saying that it would be about politics, entertainment, culture, and all that, because that was based off of what I thought it was going to be between me and her. In this, eventually, because even if I did the first episode, I thought eventually it would turn in that. It never did. Mainly because, so it's something I guess most people don't know, that when this podcast started, I said probably maybe a month or 2 later, I was separated from my wife. And then in the years after that, so been divorced now. And so none of that ever happened to have the 2 hosts back and forth. So my goal with all of this to do this podcast, it wasn't to become, the most listened to podcast, or even so much even to get paid, really. Look, I wouldn't mind if I got a job in doing it. But my first priority when I started this podcast was to help out in interviewing my friends, and to, make a difference and help out, whether with them or just, bring another voice that will create an impact in whatever way. And because my whole thought is about, okay, if I did this, is this going to help people? Is this going to help out? If people are going to get something out of this, great, I'll do it. And so, that being said, also, hopefully I was thinking maybe sooner or later if I was going to continue doing this podcast, to maybe get a job doing something, whether it's doing this podcast or doing something else, whether working for some organization, some conservative organization or whatever like that, something that would get me off the road. Because that was my other, that was another goal of mine too. Because I was doing other things, just trying to be home more. So if this podcast was that way to get there, okay. And I was trying other things as well, and so that was another reason to try this podcast as well, to see what will become of it. But my main goal from the very beginning was to volunteer and do these different things, and maybe to the point, if something comes out of it, I'll get off the road and then with the job or whatever, and be home with my family, be home with my wife at that time, and also to be home for my daughter and with her. She was currently in school, in high school by this time, but so that was all back then though. I mean, now given how I'm older, and if you don't know, there's another reason I waited to do this last episode. Even though I thought this last episode would have been done probably in January or February, I thought it was going to be CPAC. Actually, it was going to be with interviews there. It would have rounded out to 200, but we got to this point. So actually, for people that don't know, June 9th is my birthday. So. So now, given I'm older, I'm actually 41 today, and some college, no degree, but some college credits, but but that's all I have. And even being a national delegate and alternate delegate and all that, and volunteering in different organizations, I mean, it still makes it pretty difficult to get anything substantial as far as a job. And let me also say this, as a job to replace what I do now. Remember, I'm a truck driver, so I make a lot as a truck driver. So whatever job, because it's not like I wasn't presented any job. I had a number of job offers, but they were all entry level jobs. And so it would have cut whatever I make on the road by 75%. So yeah. So that made things difficult, and as far as even going that route, because I would have to get something that was at least somewhat above entry level, which is difficult for someone that don't have as much experience as someone that, a younger person as well, coming out of college with a degree. So, that's the facts of the matter, and I understand it. And if I was hiring at these places, that's where I would go to. So I understand that. I mean, so with all of that, and now, so now, as I mentioned before, divorced now, and my daughter is she's graduated high school now. She's in college, and so really it's kind of just me at this point. I mean, and so that motivation for the podcast has gone away. Couple that with, as I mentioned before, the engagement is not really there. It's not really, the downloads is not really there. So it doesn't seem like I'm helping that much either. So it's kind of like, okay, I guess it's just time to just move on. And look, I'll just stay on the road, which is fine by me. Look, I love my job. I have no problem driving this truck. I like what I do. So, and I'm not feeling like I took this venture to I got to do this so I can get out of this dead end job or the job that I hate. No, I like my job. So I don't really feel the pressure or anything like that. To get away from doing something I actually like. So now that aspect is kind of gone. All of that is gone. So that to look for that job. So I just this would be the end of it then. I mean, and look, I'm not overly ambitious either, to be honest, which has its pros and cons to it. Trust me, I know. I'm self-aware of that. I mean, I'm a content person, so I don't really get stressed out, kind of roll with the punches. But on the flip side, I'm not crazy driven either, which can kind of come off as nonchalant and uncaring, actually. But that being said, I mean, there are plenty of people doing great things with their platforms out there, doing podcasts and on YouTube. I mean, you heard from shout out from Brandon Tatum on here. Heard from Morgan Zegers with Young Americans Against Socialism. Eric July, Young Ripper 5'9". I mean, Damani Felder, Hodge Twins, definitely Holly, who has been on our podcast. She's going to start a podcast. If not right by this point, it's starting soon. Friend of mine, Jenny Robinson, check out her podcast. Coleon Noir, his stuff on YouTube and all that. Liz Wheeler just started something, YouTube channel. I mean, yeah. I mean, factoring in the time, the time and cost and the amount of listenership or lack thereof or whatever, I just think it's the best time just, to end it. Also, I would recommend people listen to, watch this video from Lauren Southern. Lauren Southern, someone I wanted to get on. I never got a chance to get on. But she has a YouTube video, and it's called Feelings Don't Care About Your Facts, which is basically the flip of the popular saying that, facts don't care about your feelings. But it's a good video, and it basically just kind of breaks down that, even you can have all the facts, all the logic, all the rationale that you want, but people that are basically in their feelings don't care about your facts. And whether I like it or not, I agree with her point. Especially the fact that most people, process decisions, and their votes emotionally. And that's another thing. I realize I'm certainly not effective in my communication in that regard. And when it comes to conservative principles, which I think is kind of maybe another reason that doesn't really resonate with some people, maybe that maybe listen for the first time and just kind of come off maybe too cold or whatever, which I understand and I get it. I mean, it's kind of like, so like the reasons I would go like that I will mention is that, so I'm not really a storyteller, and at the same time, I'm not thoroughly researched either. It's like, this really is commentary. This really is just my opinions. It's not like, because if you're going to not be an effective storyteller where you can suck people in with talking about stories and this and that and tying in principles with that, if you're not going to do that, you need to be like really researched. Like, you have to really have a lot of facts and where people can really get into that. And I don't do either really. So yeah. So I mean, I understand that, and I get it. Another thing, I'm also bad at networking. As many people that has been on a show, and I appreciate everyone that's been on the show, but my networking skills are lackluster. Put it that way. I'm not good at communicating, keeping in contact. I guess that's another thing, because that's kind of one thing where you say, like, where you tell people that, you keep in contact with people and all that, and just because just to talk and be, but I don't do that well, unfortunately, and it shows, because it doesn't really grow really, because of that. And look, all of that leads to, I would think leads to like the lack of engagement and all that, and because the network didn't really expand to take the show to other places, whatever like that. But look, I'm just trying to be honest with myself. Like, this ain't no woe is me. I'm not entitled to an audience. I believe in the free market, and the market chooses what it wants. And and I believe in that, whether it works out for me, would I benefit from it or not. This is how it should work. I mean, So from listening to this episode, I know in the middle of this or in the beginning of at the end there's commercials, right? And just to kind of give a bit of a glimpse as far as all the money that supposedly that I'm rolling in for doing this podcast. I'll just tell you right now, the first I got a check from Spreaker, right? From the ad revenue for this podcast. You know how much the first check was? $23.58. And that was after I've done 100 episodes. So yeah, that that just kind of gives you an idea. Now that just goes because of downloads and all that and listenership and everything like that. So, and but like I said, I wasn't doing it so much for the money, just making sure if people were getting something out of it, great. And I just continue doing it, but not so much the case. So, now, and I guess in talking about if we're gonna go down this route of reflection, and I want to play something right quick. I'm gonna play a couple of interviews, but here's one that before you know what? No, I gotta find it. Okay, but I don't know. Anyway, I just leave that. I can leave that one out. But I know I shared a couple of days ago, yesterday, that I have, interviewed Senator Cruz. That's been my most popular episodes. So you can look at the downloads and see that, you have so many downloads, but a lot of it, I say a lion's share of it is from the times I've spoken with either representatives or Senator Cruz. That's where the majority of it really comes from, to be honest. And so in those 3 times I spoke with him, it's been, that was the most, I couldn't believe I was actually able to get an interview with him and all that. So, it's moments like that, that are great to look back on and see pictures of it and all of that. So, matter of fact, I'll play the one we did at the NRA right quick. The NRA annual meetings, and we're very pleased to have Senator Ted Cruz with us. How you doing?
I'm doing terrific. How are you doing?
Well, first off, it was a great speech. And just wanted to ask, first, how's the campaign going?
It's going very well. We're seeing tremendous energy across the state. These are volatile times. The far left, they're energized, they're angry, they hate the president. And so I've got a liberal Democrat running against me, Congressman Beto O'Rourke, who's running far, far left. He's advocating higher taxes, more regulations, open borders. He's advocating aggressive gun control and impeaching the president. And he's raising more money than any Democrat in the entire country. But the good news is there are more conservatives in Texas than liberals. So if we turn Texans out, we'll have a good election.
I guess the news a little bit is that that President Trump, I guess, kind of reiterated his endorsement of you. So how's that?
Very grateful to have the president's support, and I think we're getting an enormous amount accomplished over the last year and a half. With tax reform, regulatory reform, repealing the Obamacare individual mandate, confirming strong judges, rebuilding the military, we're getting a lot done, and we got a lot more we need to do together.
I know one of the things that he mentioned is as far as not being complacent, and that's definitely true. So I guess I want to ask you about that.
No, I very much agree that our biggest challenge is complacency. If turnout will decide this election, we know we're going to see record-shattering Democratic turnout. We've got to make sure conservatives show up and vote. If we do that, we'll have a good election all across the country.
And so the theme of, I guess, the annual meetings is a show of strength for Second Amendment freedom. I just want to ask you, how do we all apply that?
Well, freedom doesn't defend itself. You've got to stand up and defend it, particularly when we're seeing a concerted media effort to come after the Second Amendment to push gun control. My opponent in the Senate race, Democratic Congressman Beto O'Rourke, tweeted a few weeks back how proud he was that he has an F rating from the NRA. Not a D-, not a D, an F. I promptly retweeted it. I said, look, elections are about choices, and if you want a big government, gun-grabbing liberal, well, the Democrats have given you one. But if you want someone who will fight to defend your freedom and defend the Bill of Rights each and every day, you got that choice as well.
Thank you so much for your time.
Great to see you.
All right, so yeah, I've mentioned this before. If you can't tell, we're walking and talking, so we are like really going back and forth. Like I'm walking and walking fast too. We were in Dallas, and yeah, I'm walking, and they said, hey, the only opportunity I had was to walk and talk with him on his way to his car. So yeah, I'm trying to think, I'm trying to talk and walk and all that. So yeah, that was one of our 3 interviews we had with Senator Cruz, and we definitely appreciate having the opportunity to speak with Senator Cruz all those times. And so yeah, now let's get to our last interview, which is with Lawrence Jones, who has been on the show numerous times as well. But this is new. This is an interview we did at CPAC a couple of months ago, and I actually told him before we started this is going to be the last interview with him because I'm ending the show soon. So yeah, without further ado, let's get to that interview.
Yeah. All right, this is Brian Bledsoe. It's a Trend Chat at CPAC 2021, and we have a returning guest, Lawrence Jones, the big shot at Fox News. How you doing?
I don't know about big shot, man. It's just a lot of fun, How you been?
I'm doing well. So, first off, given this, you've been to other CPACs, and so this is a whole unique experience. So, for people that don't know, let them know how all the distancing and everything, how it's going.
Yeah, most people love freedom here and everything. It is a different hassle. We live in a different environment and all that, but, Florida is a free state, and the people can sit down and have a meal and everything. The maskings are a little annoying, but I think for the most part, people are on fire. They want to know who's going to be the candidate that's going to run. They're hoping that the president is going to run. So I think people are just energetic, brother.
Yeah. Now, unfortunately, I wasn't able, as far as media myself, to be inside the main bar. No, actually, I had to watch on TV, so I didn't even get a chance to see what you were on. Yeah. So let people know what you were talking about on stage.
Yeah, I talked about the correlation between mob justice that happened in the streets, and then I also talked about the state mob that shut businesses down, didn't give people an opportunity to fight for their businesses despite this pandemic. And so the correlation of that I thought was pretty frisky for the audience. They agreed on it. I put a little twist on it. And I think people see the correlation that businesses are still closed. I mean, Florida is open, Texas, you got businesses open, but all across the country, they're sitting here letting businesses just fail. And they don't give them money, which the people, they don't need the money. Just let them open up and choose their own destiny.
Yeah, now I did catch a clip, and in one of the clips I saw that what you mentioned about where there were some Republicans that were letting this happen as well.
Yeah, Republicans let it happen as well. They're not immune from this criticism. The fact that they allowed the media to pressure them to close down businesses in their state, the fact that they cited people and had the police come to when kids were out there playing on the playground and arrest moms and dads, I think it's just ridiculous. And Republicans played a part in that, and so they shouldn't be immune to criticism. And honestly, I don't think they should really have their seats. They shouldn't be in office with that type of stuff happening in Republican states.
So everything that's going on here, with Fox News and everything. So I mean, what things do you got coming up, or that you can, tell us at least?
Fox News. Okay, what I can tell you is next week I'm hosting a 7 p.m. show on primetime, and you got to come and see about it. It'll be a little bit of news and opinion, and we're gonna have a lot of fun.
All right. So now the theme is America Uncounseled. So with that theme, I mean, what is your thoughts as far as this whole council culture that's going on?
Listen, we're allowing people to be counseled, but as I always tell people, if you subscribe to counsel culture, it's like a wildfire. You counsel someone, you pour gasoline on the fire, don't be surprised when that gas hits you too. And you will be set on fire as well. Just look at Ellen. she was counseling people left and right, and they came for her too. And she realized the magnitude of it. Bill Maher has been very vocal about it as well. So again, I'm against conservative counseling. I'm against Democrats counseling. I'm against everybody counseling.
So this is my last question. Okay. Maybe it ain't really a question, just a statement. I appreciate the encouragement, as far as the podcast and everything.
Yep.
You've been on a couple of times. I just want to say, if this is the last time we speak on the podcast, I appreciate everything you've done, and just thank you.
Brother, you did it your way. You did it the right way, and I'm proud of you, man. Congratulations.
All right, and if people want to, see you on social media, where would it go?
You can go to Lawrence B. Jones 3 on all platforms, and you'll see me there. Fox News 7 p.m. though next week.
All right. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, bro. Thank you. Hey, it's Lawrence Jones with Fox News. Check out Trend Chat with my brother Brian Bledsoe.
I saw her flying there by the dawn's early light, a little tired, a little tore up, still hurting from the fight.
We here at Trend Chat, we are proud to be part of the 1776 militia. Check out 1776united.com. They have a wide array of clothing, hats, shirts, art, and more that is fiercely patriotic and stylish to match. Go to 1776united.com, and if you put in the code Trend Chat, you get 20% off your first purchase. Again, 1776united.com. Put in the code Trend Chat for 20% off.
Be anything that we want to be. It don't matter where you are, from a one-room church to an uptown bar. Don't care if you're black or white or who you love. I stand for the flag, and the flag stands for all of us.
All right, so here we are. The last 4 minutes, and just like I said, look at it. Now, I have 4 minutes. I actually have stuff I need to get out. So, all right, let's hurry up. So let's get to the. Hold on. All right. Okay. All right. Where is that? So let's shout out the locations for the final time, I guess. All right. So let's start with the cities. Hyderabad, India. Pune, India. Le Boucas, France. I ain't got time to try to figure it out. All right. Lincoln, Nebraska. Maradu, India. Patina, India. Durham, North Carolina. Man. Jaraju, Brazil. Little M, Texas. Arlington, Texas. And the counties, the countries. Switzerland, France, Thailand, Brazil, India, and United States. So, all right, go ahead to cut that off because I can't believe here we're at 3 minutes. So, and I still have things to say. And also, one thing I want to mention right now is that, so like I mentioned about the email, it's going to come in handy because right now you can win a $100 wine voucher from nakedwines.com. So to win this, you need to email me at trendchat247@gmail.com, trendchat247@gmail.com. And in the email, I need you to tell me what is the book that I recommended to read when it was a reference book. Tell me the name of that book in the email, and I will send you this wine voucher. Now, I did this before, and no one even emailed me about it. So I don't drink wine, so that's one reason why I'm not, I'm giving it away. So, so yeah, do that. If you listen, so that's your treat for listening this far, or maybe fast forward all the way here. So anyway, before we go, thanks to Hillary Kennedy for doing all the voices for this, and just I appreciate her. I know a lot of times I talk about we did this and we did that. I mean, the only we is me and Jesus for the most part. All the production, everything, it's all me. I didn't have anyone else to do it. And so, but of the 99.9%, 9.5, the other part is Hillary with her voice. So I appreciate. And I guess I would just leave with this, is that for one, now I'm just going to focus on being the best precinct chair I can be with the limited time I have on the road still, and actually, maybe find someone in my precinct, to help out, but whatnot. But I will leave with this. Government is not your friend. That's something I've been trying to say for this whole podcast. Government not your friend. Every day, regardless of party, government seeks more power and control. And so many are willing to just give it away. Media has done a great job in convincing people that freedom is selfish and that we should essentially be communists and hand everything over to the government in the name of safety, community, and compassion. But that's just not the case. Freedom is not easy. It's not, it's not safe, but it's worth it. And I keep saying that. So I don't know. That's all I got to say. That's it. And I can't say until next time. Just, I guess I'll go watch Loki and maybe go skydiving soon. So anyway, goodbye.